Every topic is important. You see that why and how the masters of the Eastern wisdom knows just in the field of awareness that why he or she is suffering and why others are suffering. It becomes very easy once we reach to that state. And the reason is, uh, have you seen the vampire in Hollywood films and vampire or sci-fi films where the robot is fighting as a villain, but the life of a villain lies located in some software. So once we click that software, we push the button, that vampire dies. That vampire is killed. So in our Lara wanted to join, but perhaps she failed. So what I'm making, yeah, Terry has come. Very good. Yeah, very good. Let us join together. So we will start again. Terry, yes, muted. Lara, so is also muted. So, what is there? What I said in the beginning, that it becomes easy for the masters to know that why he or she is suffering and why others are suffering. So, from there I started. So, I'm picking up couple of verses from the Gita as we started this journey, this series that we will discuss and practice meditation for awakening and realization based on Gita, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, and Upanishads. Lara, I don't see you. Anyhow, so the next question we should ask where we are sitting. In that reference, I gave an example of these sci-fi films. You have robot, you have vampire. In India, there are stories that the life of a vampire is located in a parrot in a forest. So, if you want to kill the vampire, what you have to do, you have to search that parrot and twist his neck. So, the moment you twist the neck of a vampire, the parrot, the vampire dies. Question is why I narrated, why I told you this story. Question is where we are sitting. You will understand now easily. If we are sitting in a wealth, then take all the wealth of a person. What happens to that person? Dies while living. If we are sitting on a chair, take the chair out and the person dies. Are you getting it? What I want to say? So question is very important. The Krishna is answering where we are sitting in our day-to-day life. So who is sitting? That one is intellect. That one is wisdom. If I am sitting in the state of well-being, wholeness, peace, then what is going to happen? That I live in the state of meditation. And if we are not sitting inside ourselves, then what happens? We feel insulted, we feel humiliated, we feel harassed, we feel suffering. So that is where I have started this journey. That is why our master says in the beginning, and especially the Patanjali says, Prayatna Shaithilyata Ananta Samapatibhyam. That this body should be steady to succeed in meditation. But that steadiness should come from the mind. It should not be enforced steadiness in the body. When you force the body to be still, it means there is a problem. So, with that introduction, I'm coming to the two verses of Gita. So, the disciple and the seeker here asks the master. Who is the master? The Krishna, the originator of yoga. What is the sign of that man in meditation? What happens? How he sits, how he speaks, and how he walks. Don't you want to understand? So, one more, my master used to talk a lot about it. So, the seeker addresses the master as Keshava, the Sanskrit word Keshava. Keshava. That is in the second chapter of the Gita. So, Keshava means what? And that gives the clue. Keshava means the rays of knowledge. So he is addressing his master. Oh, my master Keshava, tell me how a meditator sits, how a meditator walks, and how a meditator works in the world outside. So there, the master uses the word sthita prajna, where the intellect is sitting, there, that is how the people sits, walks, and lives. Are you clear? Where is your house? Your intellect is sitting in that house. What is the house of your body? That is the physical house. Where your mind is sitting. Is the mind sitting in calmness? Done. Where your intellect is sitting. And if your intellect is sitting in anything outside, then you are not in meditation. And that intellect we have discussed in the first series in the Manisha Panchakam. So that world is known as Sthita Prajna. So a meditator or a seeker, when he succeeds in meditation, his intellect, where it is? It is Sthita Prajna, sits in the wisdom of the real and the unreal all the time. All the time. I explained, if your intellect is sitting in the chair, what will happen? If the chair is gone, you will suffer. If the intellect is sitting in the wealth is gone, you are disturbed. You have a lot of suffering. If the intellect is sitting in the ego and that ego is hurt, then the entire world becomes problem for you. But we will go to what the master is saying. There are about 20-25 different verses to have a clarity on, but I'm taking up only one. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan. Atmani ev atmana tushtaha sthita prajnatada uchyate. So the master is saying, my son, my friend, listen to it. Sit for a few minutes and ask yourself, are you satisfied in yourself, by yourself, to yourself? You have a stable intelligence. You are settled in meditation. Do all the work of the life. Whatever the work comes in front of you, you do it. But always settled in the wisdom of the real and the unreal. That is the first answer the master gives. If you are settled in that intellect, then what happens? Whatever the work that you do, you think, and you speak will not cause any problem in the world outside. Well, see, he says again, I'm translating, Atmani aev atmana tushtasthita prajnatada uchyate. That meditator is satisfied in the self by the self. So there is another word that is used, who succeeds in meditation, who is a sthita prajna, or you can say steady wisdom. So, who has the steady wisdom means what? By the regular practice of meditation, our intellect is refined, shines with the wisdom. What is that wisdom? Wisdom of the real self. Then what happens? If you are settled in the steady wisdom, the peace cannot be taken away. The happiness cannot be taken away from your life. Now see the reverse part of it. That is also what the master is saying. That guy has nothing to do with anyone, nothing to abuse, nothing to react. You don't go into that kind of an anxiety or reaction. You don't worry about the world because your intellect is not settled outside. It is not sitting outside. As I explained, the demon's life is sitting in the parrot, too far from that demon. So you have to find out that parrot. And when you twist the neck of the parrot, the vampire dies. You see what is the message giving? What is the message in the meditation? The message is clear. We try to find out the cause of our ego and attachment inside ourselves. It is not inside, it is outside. It is outside on the chair, it is outside on the wealth, it is outside on any object of which we are attached. So once you become aware of it, so what we don't need psychological testing and a lot of questionnaire. We become aware that where you are sitting by explaining that, oh, I have lot of anxiety and reaction and suffering, what should I do? So we become aware where you are sitting. From there, we can easily start the journey. We don't need to find out the level of your anxiety. This is one part of it. Now, see the other part of it. That is also more important. Do you remember the five subjective states of the mind? Do you remember the now relate these five subjective states of the mind with where your mind is sitting? There is a state which is known as forgetfulness. Forgetfulness mind, in which the mind is totally, completely sitting in the body. But body is inert. Body is a matter. The matter does not know itself, and matter cannot know others. So now think of the attitude of the mind. You come to me and the mind is sitting in the body. You say, I have lot of problem. Then what my mind says, who has no problem? I have a lot of stress. Who doesn't have the stress? So we note and we observe, we understand in which state of the mind you are. And that tells the story of your stress and suffering, your level of awareness. We may be highly intelligent, but question is where this intellect is sitting. If it is sitting outside, and if it is sitting in the body, that is known as murha, the forgetfulness state. And if it is sitting outside in different objects, then it becomes the wandering state of the mind. And during the practice of meditation, I say become aware of the body, and you become aware of the pain in the body, then your mind is distracted. Then you have to become a seeker. You have to succeed in meditation. Are you getting it? Are you getting it? So we are answering a question. The seeker is asking how a meditator sits, walks, works. This is only the first verse. So as we continue, I'll pick up two or three more verses and then we'll come back to the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Now, see, when you are settled in yourself, you go beyond all the subjective states and you experience the emptiness of the mind all the time, 24 by 7. You experience, even while talking, you experience that sense of emptiness, that sense of transparency in the mind. It is not the emptiness that, okay, I will sit for meditation every day. Today my mind is empty and tomorrow it is not. No, you live into that state of emptiness of the mind because that intellect is sitting inside with the self in the state of the well being, in the state of wholeness, in the state of the peace. So, this is the first verse and the first characteristics the master is saying. He, that meditator, is always sitting in the self. There are two types of seekers who attains meditation after purification of the mind. And sometime when we are attending any of these sessions, we can enter into a deeper state of meditation without any purification because the mind is still sitting outside. But for the time being, for 1 hour or half an hour of practice of meditation, the mind goes very deep. So that meditation is not stable. And when that is not stable, then as a seeker, we blame and complain. What is the answer? That is what we covered in 4 or 5 weeks. We covered in 5 sutras what exactly is the practice of meditation. I think you have a sense of it. In the first verse, we understood practice and dispassion are the two elements. Very important. Without dispassion, if you are practicing, it becomes a habitual practice. Then you blame practice, you blame teacher, you blame the world, and you go back because the mind is not purified. And we did not apply the dispassion. Second is, do you remember what it means by the practice of meditation? Tatra sthito yatano abhyasa. Are you listening to me with attention? Yes. So, can I become aware of that attention of the mind? Means what? That mind is already settled. That is the practice. Practice is not 1 hour, 2 hour, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. That level of awareness on the steadiness of the mind is to be maintained by dispassion. And we understood the word dispassion also. So when you live into that state, then what happens? The answer is realized. What is the answer? A meditator is satisfied in himself, by himself, for himself. That level of satisfaction comes. That is why we started with this mantra. That I had that intent in my mind. And I am so happy that you all absorbed into that understanding. You had that clear understanding. What is that? Sarve Sham Swastir Bhavatu. So by saying that, what is the saying? That let there be a well being in everyone. Means what? It also includes me. And it helps my mind to settle in me. When there is a well being everywhere, then it is better to settle in me. When there is a sense of wholeness, let me settle in me. When there is a sense of peace everywhere, let me settle in me. And that creates an auspicious moment. So, what is that auspicious? In that auspicious moment, we work, we think, we speak. That meditator, huh? This is the first set of characteristics of a meditator who sits, who walks, who works in the steady wisdom. That is the word is known as sthita prajna. So there are almost 15, 20 verses on that. So I'll pick up a couple of the verses and so that we can have a clear understanding as a meditator. Am I speaking, living, working in that state? Yes. You don't need a teacher. You should know all those principles. That is all. Have you heard this topic, Lara, before?